Hi guys, and welcome to this week's kind of review. It's a first look really. I originally saw this app back in the previous lockdown, so that was early on in, I think it was March. I'll put a link above to Jack Lee, who did a brilliant review on it, a first look over. Since then I've seen a couple of other YouTubers. I saw Rick do one and SAS Golf, so I'll give them all the credit because certainly SAS Golf, because he had the inventors of the Shot Vision app. The guys who are pushing it forward and doing amazing things. So I thought I'd better download it, see what it's like. I've got access to a GC quad, so I know my numbers really well. And I've got a pretty good idea of when I hit my golf balls, especially here on the range here at Ross-on-Wye in Herefordshire. I know this range really well, I know the distances, there's a couple of markers out there with how far it is, and I've got an idea in my head, a very good concept within probably maybe 5 yards of how my ball flight is going to go. So I've got a really good idea knowing this area. And I find seeing the ball flight rather than being with a GC quad or a TrackMan in a lab, say, or even sometimes out on the course, I find that those numbers on some of those are not always as consistent as, so I think it's quite a good idea if you're going to test anything like this. Especially for me, I find it's better to see the ball flight and go to a familiar area so you know the wind conditions, you know, even down to the mat and how the ball's spinning there. There's a lot of different factors which make up a consistent shot and getting used to how far the ball flight is. Now, so I've literally just downloaded the Shot Vision app on the way here, and I'm actually really surprised. I've heard the guys say that it's pretty good and it's fairly accurate. I know that Rick didn't give it much just because he put it against his quad and it missed on a few balls. And I know Simon had a few troubles as well. Having listened to Simon's video with the two guys, the inventors, and exactly the reasons of how you set it up and why you put it together, the way you put it together, it made me set it up really quite accurately. So I'm going to go through a quick how to set it up. Now I've paid for the full app just so I can give you a good idea of what it is. It's free to get your club head speed and a couple of other things, but if you want distances and a more in-depth app, you have to pay for the pro license, which is actually only $6.99, that's pounds, I guess it's about the same in dollars, per month. So you can try it for a couple of months. It's the sort of thing I would say through the winter season you could use a lot. I'm not sure whether you would use it throughout the whole year. Now then, so we got a target mode, gap mode, combine and randomizer. That's on the first sheet, but we're going to just go straight into like seeing how far we hit the ball. We just press start. There's a big start in the middle. We select our club. I'm going to select a 7-iron, so I really know the 7-iron well, especially on this range. I know exactly the point in which it lands, and I just press ready. Now what we're going to do is you're going to use a little tripod. Hopefully you've got one of these. Now one of the things the guys did say that it will suffer from vibrations because it's actually picking up the ball flight at 240 frames per second off the club face. So it's kind of, the algorithms are built on that, so that has to be really clear and steady. Now if obviously you're on an area which is even slightly going to vibrate in any way, you should put it on a towel as well. Okay, I've not needed to here because I'm on a range mat and it's quite fluffy and quite a nice little bit of suspension, so there's no way it's going to bump. Then when you get it set up like this, all you've got to do is put it on the floor and it's going to tilt. It's got two little arrows, you're going to put them together and you're going to tilt and set up like that and stick it on the floor just in front of where we are. Now that is because obviously that's the right angle for it to see coming off. So it doesn't have to actually see the ball when we set up, it just has to see that flight, the first kind of 6 foot of flight, and that's what it's taking its algorithms from. So dead easy, just put it on the floor, wait for it to go green and then press go. And then it will come up with all your different distances. So we've got our carry distance if you've got the pro version, which is £7, $6.99. You've got your carry distance, you've got your total distance, you've got your ball speed, club speed, launch angle and spin rate. Now I've found actually most of them are pretty good. If you're talking about a super elite player looking for that extra 100 rev spin, this really isn't for you. But I would say, I mean I'm a fairly elite player, so I would say this is helpful to me. It is good for club head speed, so if you want to build your speed up a bit and see how fast your club head speed is going, it's pretty good. You've got your ball speed, which is obviously quite nice to see, but the most important one I like is the carry distance, and that's the one I look at. So club head speed and carry distance is quite a nice one. So you start to see your carry distances, and you'll start to feel as you're hitting your shots, you think, oh, I didn't quite hit that one, and you'll see it start to tip lower. But it's a really good indication once you've hit 5 or 6 or 10, or you've been up here for maybe half an hour, you'll get a really good idea of all the different distances your clubs can go. Or you could just hit your 7-iron, get a club distance off that, and then if your clubs are gapped correctly, which hopefully you've had them fit, or maybe you've gone to check them out, because you really should, there should be about 10 yards in between each club. So if you're looking at carrying your 7-iron, say 140, let's just say, then your 6-iron will be 150, and so on and so on. But then you can check this out. So I'll do a quick setup, I'll hit a few shots, I'll show you a few. All I can say is my honest opinion. I think it's really worth it, and I think it's worth a go. But you have to be quite careful on your setup. But once you're set up, I would suggest putting a tee down where it sits just in that sweet spot, and then all you've got to do is hit your shots from there, and you're sorted. You don't have to worry about it from there on. So I'll do a quick explanation of the setup, and we'll come back to that. So my findings, 7-irons, the short irons, excellent. I find the drivers and some of the long irons are a little bit more suspect, but to be honest with you, if you're hitting drivers, you just want to see your club head speed. It's nice to see the ball speed to see how you're striking it, but I would say for most people these days, they're trying to generate a little bit more speed and they're working on a technique later. So I think it's still even great is, because I've paid before now £100 just for a radar monitor which picks up your club head speed, like if you're using speed sticks or something. Whereas this thing would do exactly that, but it's free, that part of it, because it shows you the club head speed. So I would really recommend it. Next week I'm going to test this against the G80, which is your kind of one of your entry-level launch monitors. It's got a GPS system on it as well for going around the course, but that's the Garmin G80, and that one I'm going to pitch against this one, and we'll see how close the numbers are. Because really, would you be testing it against a GC Quad? 20 grand as opposed to free or £8 a month? I don't think so. It's like almost an unfair comparison. I think for what you're going to be using it for, one day I've got no doubts that this will be as good as a GC Quad. I remember back in the 90s when the V1 app was about 20,000 quid with all the software, and now it's pretty much free on our phones, and that was for superimposing shots over the top of shots and checking swing angles. That's a V1 app. We'll do a review on that one at some point, but you should get that one if you like videoing yourself. So honestly, what do I think? Ultimately, it's free, so just try it. Give it a go. You might really get on well with it. You may have some issues. But as far as I'm concerned, it's a good rough ballpark for a shot monitor. And for nothing, you've got nothing to lose. Even if you just try it for a couple of months with the paid version. That's good fun. I've really enjoyed using it so far. It's certainly better than nothing. I'm going to do some comparisons with the other ones and see how it stacks up against the G80. As far as I'm concerned, it kind of does the job. It's absolutely free, and I think it's really worthwhile supporting, because that sort of app in the future is going to be fantastic, and the guys are doing a great job. So anyway, I'll put the link down below. Check it out if you like, give it a go. It does only work on iPhones, and the reason for that is because with Android there's many different phones, and all the phones have different sorts of cameras, in varying different qualities, and not all of them have the capacity to shoot in 240, whereas all the iPhones do, back to about the iPhone 5 I think. So I think it works pretty well right back to 5 or 6, but that's worth checking. But you can check that when you try it for free. Anyway guys, thanks a lot. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later in the week.